Hey guys, and welcome to the finale of What If Madison's Family Joined Rick. Hope you guys have truly loved the story so far, because besides What If Sophia Joined Negan, this one's a part longer than that series, making it my biggest series on the channel to date. What If Rick Spared Shane being the third one, or the remake at least. But this one will be touching upon what happens after the deal with Shane and Beta, and what the Reapers and Commonwealth will do in terms of the finale to the story. Being kind of a shorter finale than most of my others, but I've done kind of short ones before, 18 minutes, so I hope you guys enjoy nonetheless. Let's get into it. So since this would be still around the time of the original middle arc, kind of Season 9, that means the Pike scene never happened, obviously. And it also means that the kingdom is going to remain in much more better shape and do the fair much more successfully, and that's also due to the fact that the Saviors not really being that much of a threat at all. And the Highwaymen are still all going to be around, because the leader, Ozzy, and the other guy never got taken down by Alpha, and, their heads. So they're going to be around for the story too. Then we get into Season 10 already, with not too much really being impactful, to say the least. Now the satellite union thing that comes down at the beginning of Season 10, that still goes on, but that's hardly worth being a problem, since the Whisperers are dead, so they don't gotta worry about it in Whisperer territory. Eugene still fiddles with the radio, and eventually gets the same group, Yumiko and Ezekiel. They meet Princess and meet the Commonwealth. Maggie and Herschel still go with Georgie to plan the community, and still run their little thing with the Reapers, which I will touch more on in a bit here, just to touch on a few other things for the rest of Season 10. Now, Rick would be the one to meet Virgil here, like I've done in other stories, and it's up in the air, I think, for this story, whether he would spare him, or they would even go to his island, or if he would just ice him on the spot. But that's honestly up to you. It really doesn't matter. Virgil was a small character anyway, and besides the revelation that he was by the boat where Rick's stuff was in the original story, he really doesn't matter. So it's up to you. Aaron and Gabriel still go out. They meet Maze, and they wouldn't have to play the Russian roulette game like they did, due to the fact that we have another person surviving, which I've had happen before, Jesus. And because of this, they don't even get into the mode where they're going to play the game, because Jesus shuts May's crap down pretty friggin' easily, because Jesus was badly nerfed in Season 9. Had he been allowed to live longer, I think that they would have done a lot more with his potential, as I've explained in past stories of him surviving. He was very underutilized. Now, May's brother, once again, nothing to talk about. He was a lost cause. Nothing to really go on with him there. There are some characters I feel potential could be better explored, but he is not one of them in any way, shape, or form. Now, we will finally touch on the Reapers, because Maggie then returns with her group and everything, and they get to encounter the Reaper in the woods who blows himself up. And besides more characters and more character development, maybe less character development happening around here, nothing about this particular scene would really differentiate from the original. Like I said, different characters, different character development, a lot more done and whatnot. Now, the tunnel scene, as I've explained before, in this sense, once again, will not happen, simply due to the fact that how much Rick and Madison have preserved the group over all these years. It really doesn't give them a need to go down there, because the only reason they did that in the original is because of the Savior's massive influence, and the Whisperers made that even harder. But they wouldn't even be half drained of food and resources. Maybe half, but not really. Now, how are they going to meet the Reapers here? Because I've had them ambush Alexandria and other communities, but what's going to happen here? Well, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I will say that since the Reapers have not made a beneficial move since the guy who blew himself up, that Maggie decides, what if they go to the place where they are and confront them straight on? To the place Meridian, where the Reapers live, and just take them down. And, thusly, the plan is set into motion. And now, like I've touched on before, time to basically say who's going to be fighting and killing all the Reapers. Rick, of course, Madison, because obviously, Dara and Alicia, whose relationship would be boundless here, Carl and Enid, Morgan, Henry would be accompanying because Benjamin died in the last episode, Sasha, Heath, whose relationship has also been really growing between the story, Jesus, Maze. I really just like Maze and his old gun aspect, so he's there, Daniel, and Carol. So, with all that out of the way, we have our people to confront the Reapers, and yeah, it's already to that point in the story. We're only 6 minutes in, and we are going to get to the group going to Meridian and combating the Reapers. Once they arrive at Meridian, Pope basically knew that Maggie would want to confront them, and since he didn't blow up the houses in the communities this time, it was obvious that this was going to happen. So he sends out the Reapers as well as himself to combat everyone in Rick and Madison's group. Well, Maggie's mainly, since she decided this. Now, Cole takes the place of the one rando in the tunnel that we met, who got iced right when the Reapers were introduced, fully. Duncan takes the death of Cole, as I've said before, because, once again, these were small characters. Elijah was the only real beneficial one, and he was really cool to boot. Nicole is one of the Reapers, gets a double KO with Maze, so this would be the first time in any series where I've included two people icing each other at the same time. But it was a really close battle. Although I think Maze could have done a lot more, there's only so much I can do with certain characters, and a double KO I think definitely would fit Maze more than what he got. He seemed like a decent enough character. Now, I even had him die in the last story, I believe. Maggie fights the same Reaper that she did in the original, Turner, and gets ultimately saved not this time by Negan, obviously, because he's dead, but by Sasha and Heath. The dynamic duo, essentially. And with that said, we get to Daryl and Leah. Now, I've had this encounter happen even though they never met before. Happen still, for consistency's sake, but this time, obvious difference, Alicia's there. Which means a lot more different interactions would happen, even though they've never met. But major change between this and when Daryl and Connie met Leah is when Leah tries to initiate the plan to make Dog attack, and it doesn't work. First few seconds in, Alicia just goes haywire and just shoots Leah something awful. And Daryl would not be anywhere near remorseful or sorry for this because, once again, they never met. Now we get to the guy who got himself burned in the fire by Pope, who would actually be around here, and he gets taken out swiftly by Michonne. I'm not going to say super swiftly since he's a Reaper, but I feel like it would be definitely pretty easy anyway. The next one, Paul Wells, gets taken out by Jesus. Now, I bet you're wondering why I didn't have Jesus fight Carver again, like I have before. It's because I have something different planned for the fight with Carver. Now, even though I haven't included Jesus fight him in too many scenarios, I want to change it up like I have with other details in the story, so you'll see that later on. Another Reaper gets taken out by Madison. It's a bit of a struggle, but we know how much of a powerhouse Madison could be when she put her mind to it, so it wouldn't be that hard. The next two Reapers, although it's a tough fight, because it's Carl and Enid. And as I've said in another story before, it would be a tough fight nonetheless, because Carl and Enid would just be young adults pretty much. Austin and the other Reaper, who I forget his name, not really too important, but still, get taken out by Daryl and Alicia. A tag team effort on both ends, but it really wouldn't matter for the Reaper's side. The priest does not get intercepted, essentially, by Gabriel this time, the priest Reaper, but this time he gets killed by Morgan. Just because I didn't feel that Gabriel fit for the Reaper fight here, and just due to the fact that I don't want the same person fighting the same person every time when there's a big change in the story, with Henry being around in case things went bad. Carol takes out the next Reaper, Jensen, with a single arrow to the head, since we didn't really see Jensen amount to too much. The next Reaper, one of the ones that was by Leah's side at the end, gets taken out by Daniel with little fashion, since Daniel was essentially the John Wick of the Fear the Walking Dead timeline. And the last Reaper before Carver and Pope gets taken out by Maggie in quick fashion, so she would basically be killing the same Reaper she did in the original. Now for the moment, of which I said I would do differently for Carver. Rick will be fighting Carver this time around, which I haven't included. I've been including Jesus fight Carver, essentially, for mostly all the stories that I've covered the Reapers in. And besides Rick being saved by the Reapers, he's never fought Carver or done anything in my stories. So this would be a dramatic change. And Rick having Lucille and being a very... It's Rick Grimes, essentially. What more is to be said? Even though Rick's not like a military profession like the Reapers were, especially frickin' Carver, he would still pose a good amount of a fight in the beginning. Because Carver, at first, with the bat and everything, and the way he looks at Rick, he believes that Rick is both A, a fearsome opponent, and B, a worthy opponent. Because whenever Negan even started, before he threw the sand in his eyes, Carver definitely wanted a good fight. So, at first, it actually goes pretty, evenly. No one's winning over another. But then Carver starts to get accustomed to how Rick fights, and he's like, this dude might be tough, but he is no Reaper compared to me. And if this were Reaper Rick, that would definitely be more one-sided in the terms of Carver versus Rick. But here, Carver starts to get used to how Rick fights, and starts to dodge more of his attacks, taking a few of them, but not sustaining full enough damage, not even in the beginning. And soon enough, he dismantles Lucille with a single hard whack! And Lucille is finally broken in Season 11, or what would be Season 11. But this doesn't concern Rick, because he didn't view Lucille as Negan did. So he just pulls out his machete, his axe, and whatever weapons that he can at his disposal. But seeing as Rick would most likely certainly take way more damage than Carver in this fight, especially in the story, by the time that he does this, he's already sustained pretty good amount of damage. This is like Season 4 Rick versus the Governor. So, yeah, Rick is starting to lose this slowly but surely. But just before Carver can land the finishing blow, Michonne comes in for the save. And even though she doesn't do too good on her own, but even though she has the sword, it does provide her the advantage to at least graze Carver in some places with her blade, giving Rick the perfect opportunity to gun Carver down while he's distracted, with Michonne not sustaining too much damage in the end. So with that, we conclude the Carver fight in a kind of better, if not the same faction as Jesus versus Carver. Now Pope, since he's not getting taken out by Rick this time in a dull fashion, gets taken out by a sneak attack from Morgan. being killed in a very Morgan-like way. Not Morgan being killed, I mean Pope getting killed by Morgan in a very Morgan-type way, like a clear way. Even though Morgan wouldn't be in that sense of mind, Benjamin still dying to the Whisperers would definitely change him. Even though we see in Fear he still holds the Eastman mantra, so not completely lost. Anyways, with the Reapers now defeated, Maggie congratulates everyone and thanks them for basically avenging all the people she lost. Then we cut to the Commonwealth arriving in Alexandria, and the buildup is essentially the same, not too much to talk about, but with a lot more characters being around. And I've discussed this before. If Rick Michonne or someone like that were to be around for the Commonwealth and the Reapers and Whisperers and stuff like that, let's just say, especially in this story, with Rick, Madison, and Deanna being around, because Deanna's still alive, by the way, essentially Lance and Pamela's actions and plans would go awry. I'm not going to say immediately, but they definitely would not last long. Basically, right whenever they're getting introduced to the Alexandria and Hilltop folk. And the communities are in much better condition, and it still doesn't give them time to exact their plans to full fruition, and gives Mercer and the Commonwealth the chance to uprise, along with Rick and them aiding. And yeah, I feel like Deanna would plead the case for at least Pamela to be around, but other than that, I see no bad stuff truly happening here. And even though the finale might seem a little underwhelming, the story of how this has progressed, with two sides of the Walking Dead universe meeting, is something I feel a lot of people would love to see, and would have loved to see. Two leader types combining into a world to fight the undead and killers alike. And this whole story has summed up what might have happened had Madison's family from Fear the Walking Dead joined Rick Grimes' people. And that's where we end What If Madison's Family Joined Rick. In one more part, since I made What If Sophia Joined Negan, this is my longest story to date. And I truly 110% hope you guys enjoyed the series, and my next series will be the What If the Governor Met Negan remake, which will take into a factor of the governor playing a much more beneficial role than I probably ever have made him do, except for What If Laurie survived. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the series very, very much, and like and subscribe if you did enjoy, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.